All right, everyone. Welcome to the Done by 25 podcast. I'm Taylor K. I'm here with my co-host, Nolan Detlefson.
That's me.
The reason why we're starting this podcast, Nolan, your phone's blowing up 24/7. You've got a lot of followers on Instagram. You got a lot of people DMing you 24/7, texting you, calling you, wanting to find out how you've done what you've done and how they can do it too. So at this point, I think there's going to be a lot of people excited to hear this podcast. And so Nolan, we're calling it the Done by 25 podcast because you've literally cracked the code on how to be financially free by the age of 25, which has been incredible to watch. I've been working with you obviously for a lot of years now. And it's kind of crazy for me to even understand that, even this last year, you've started two 9-figure companies, right? In the last couple of years, massively successful, specifically in the solar industry. One of your companies paid out over $50 million in commissions just this last year. Should pay out over nine figures this year.
The install company will pay multiple 9 figures for sure this year.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yep.
And you've created lots of millionaires, right? You've mentored and developed lots of people within these companies that have made millions of dollars,
right?
And young guys too, guys and girls. So so we're just going to go in depth on kind of finding out your story, where you started. And what's helped you get to where you're at. And for you guys listening, take notes. It's not too often you get to listen to someone that's accomplished something at such a high level at such a young age, right? So, we're excited to hear kind of the story here. So, real quick, to start just at the beginning, let's talk about your childhood, where you grew up, because I know quite a bit about your story that a lot of people don't know. Yeah. And I think that it's extremely fascinating to hear. Obviously, you didn't come from money. Nope. You did not come from an easy childhood, an easy, come up. Tell us a little bit about that.
Kind of how I grew up. First thing is I am actually really excited for this. I think this has been long overdue, starting this podcast and going through this whole thing because the journey's been nuts, man. I mean, obviously you and I have been together for multiple years now. I've been working together for basically half a decade, starting from the absolute bottom, going to the top, taking everyone with us. It's been nuts.
And here's what I think is funny though too. Yeah. Throughout the years of us, of us working together and me watching what you've accomplished, I've been bugging you for years. Like, we need to be documenting this because this needs to be time now. This needs to be seen, right?
Yeah.
So we're documenting now so we can actually show people the process.
100%. So I think starting where I grew up, obviously answer your first question is I grew up just like everyone else, man. And I think at the end of the day, 90% of millionaires are self-made, they say. And I think it's because a lot of those millionaires start at the bottom, right? So for me, obviously I started at the bottom like everyone else, grew up Utah, single mom, 3 kids. We never had any money growing up whatsoever. And when I really look back at it, I think that was the biggest reason, right? It's kind of ironic that, when you grow up with money, you can obviously look at money one way, and you grow up without it, you can look at it the complete opposite, right?
Right.
And we grew up with no money, man. So I grew up single mom, 3 kids, no money whatsoever. Super hungry, man. I mean, lower middle class. My mom cut hair her whole life, and we had, multiple kids to feed, and making $30,000-$40,000 a year, in lower middle class Utah. It wasn't anything extravagant or special at all. I remember a lot of times as a kid, not being able to play certain sports or, I was the kid with the free lunch at school. Money was a big thing. Like it wasn't, shoes all the time. It was like one pair of shoes for the year type thing, or maybe even multiple years or whatever it may be, So, coming from no money, I think was one of the biggest motivations as to kind of how I got to where I'm at now. But I grew up in Utah, and then I ended up going to the University of Texas. I guess inherently smart, kind of smart by nature. So I got a 35 on my ACT in high school. That saved me. It got me to the University of Texas. I ended up getting the full ride scholarship there. I was studying engineering at the time because what's crazy is what people don't obviously realize until you get into the entrepreneurial world is that people say that the way to getting rich is by going to college, right? Going to college, making, getting a degree. And, if you graduate in petroleum geosystems engineering, like I was doing, and, you graduate and you're top of your class and valedictorian and whatever it may be, you can come out and make 6 figures. Then you come to realize that 6 figures is kind of nothing. You know what I mean? At this point. So I was doing that. I was going through that, and I kind of realized it wasn't a lot of money. And it's super funny, that time 7 years ago, I feel like that's kind of when, Ty Lopez was big on YouTube, or starting to blow up on YouTube. Yep. Grant Cardone was big on YouTube. And I literally remember, man, seeing a Grant Cardone ad on YouTube, and he said something along the lines of why fly a jet? Why be a pilot if you could just buy one? You know what I mean? And that kind of shifted my whole mindset. I was like, here's a, dude a lot older than me, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day. That's 100% true, because I thought about that as well. I thought about becoming a pilot, making six figures. And I'm like, why would I do that if I could technically own the jet? Like, what the hell is this guy talking about? And then from there, it wasn't too far after that I basically got introduced to the door-to-door industry. When I went out my first summer, 18 years old, I was a kid, man. I was a kid. I remember I was literally debating at the time getting a job at Harmon's for $12 an hour or Wells Fargo for $14 an hour. And I remember I was going back and forth at 18 years old. And I'm like, and then, my brother-in-law at the time, ends up calling me. I was actually doing some network marketing stuff, got recruited to an MLM, we can save that for another time, but that didn't last long. I was actually talking to him. I remember I was trying to like pitch him on like my MLM or whatever.
If I can chime in real quick.
Yeah.
Nolan isn't going to say this, but he actually dominated at the MLM company we were at. You had thousands of people in your downline.
Yeah.
You were in the top 3% earners in the industry at 18 years old.
That's true.
So I just want to preface, because you're downplaying it.
There's bigger business now, but
right.
So I was talking to him about that. He flips the script. Obviously, talks to me about door to door, and I remember I asked him straight up. I'm like, "Hey, what's the lowest amount of money I can make?" He's like, $0 if coming out this summer, and I'm like, "Okay, what's the max amount of money I can make?" He's like, $100,000, and I remember I thought about it for 2 seconds. Like, the phone goes silent for 2 seconds, and I'm like, all right, I'm in. You know what I mean? And so I booked my flight out there. That was my first summer. I believe it was in 2017. And I came back 4 months later, made almost 100 G's. I made 85,000 somewhere in there. And that was life-changing, man. Right. After that, I remember I went to Europe with my buddies, kind of blew the whole bag, had a bunch of fun. Came back out that next summer though, made over $250,000. And I was 19, 20 years. I turned 20 over that summer. I made $250,000. And obviously ever since then, my life hasn't been the same at all.
Right. So during that time, you obviously went from having no sales skills at all, no business skills at all, to really quickly I'm sure it was like a adapt and overcome type situation. Like you had no other option but to succeed. And you ended up dominating at a very young age. You were Vivint's poster boy child for years. I was, yeah. You were like the top rookie, top sophomore, top manager. You ran one of the top offices of kind of a bunch of just average dudes that you turned into absolute animals. Yeah. You've traveled to how many countries now?
41, I think.
41 countries.
42
just got
countries. Back from El Salvador not that long ago.
Nice.
42.
Which is just that alone. Most people don't get to experience that in their whole lives.
Yeah, it's true.
And you've done that now by the age of 25.
Yep.
So Vivint, you dominated there for how many years?
I think I was at Vivint for 4.5 years.
4.5 years. Yep. And I remember this very vividly back in, 2017 or 2018 when you bought your Lamborghini Huracan?
Yeah.
You were what, 20 years old?
At 21, I think.
21, yeah 21 years old, buying a $250,000 car.
Yeah.
That was like mind blowing. No one could even comprehend how you even were able to accomplish that, but that was crazy to watch. And then from there, things just seem to keep spiraling upwards at alarming rates, as we like to say.
Yeah. Ironic if you're selling alarms, so alarming rates. But
yeah, correct. So what made you the best, would you say, like at Vivint? What made you dominate at a high level?
Dude, that's a good question, man. But I think at the end of the day, if I had to put it to like one word, it would probably be, or one answer, it would be competitiveness. So obviously I had a super big why, right? I had a huge why with growing up from nothing, my mom, 3 brothers and sisters, making no money whatsoever. I had a huge why, but I think at the end of the day, I kind of got lucky, man. And the reason I say I got lucky is because I had a good manager. I really did. I had a good guy that I could look up to. I'd love him to death still to this day. Regardless of anything, managerial skills or what he could teach me or what he could do for me or help me with, none of that stuff mattered to me because he was just an amazing, ridiculous door-to-door rep himself. Yeah. And so when I would see him dominate every single day, I remember in alarms, we'd make $500 a sale, and which was crazy. I mean, now we're making 10 grand a deal in solar, right? It's 20x, but which is crazy. But yeah, he's making $500 a deal. And I remember my best week, the first like month or two, I think there, I sold 3 my very first week. I sold 3 again. I sold 3 after that, for the week, which is right. A $1,500 week at 18 years old. It's pretty good. It's pretty cool. Yeah. But he would sell 3 every single day.
Right.
He never really had a week below 20, 25, 30. So he'd always be making, 15, 20, G's a week. Right. And that was crazy to me. So I always saw that. So I always just knew, I'm like, hey, if this guy can do it, I can do it too. And as cliche as that sounds, it's just the truth, right? It's just, we came from a similar background. He grew up in Utah too, an hour away from me, 4 or 5 years older than me, had been doing it longer, right? And that was the biggest thing that I didn't realize until, probably my next year, is that he was just more experienced, right? And had gone harder for longer. So that's why he was better. But the answer to the question is 100% just competitiveness. That's what made me good. I think I started with my why. I needed to make money, because if I didn't make money, that was a big thing too, is I didn't have a cop out, man.
Right.
I had no money.
You had no plan B.
No plan B. Technically at the end of the day, my dad, was a physical laborer, by trade, or was, until, again, we obviously started all these companies, and I got him in the solar and all that, and kind of brought the whole family with me. Yeah. But, he's a physical laborer, man. So, at the end of the day, could I have technically maybe asked my dad for a couple $100? Sure. But that's the last thing I was going to do. Right. Right. He worked 80 hours a week, every week, of his life for $100,000. Like, I wasn't trying to do that, so, I had no cop out, man. I had no cop out. I remember I had this shitty Jeep Patriot. It had dents in all 4 corners, roll up windows. And I needed to make it happen. Right. And I remember at the end of every month, my phone would die, or my phone would get shut off because I didn't pay my bill. And it was like, shit, I had to figure out how to sell for the next 3 days without a phone bill, or without my phone active,
Wow.
Of course I had green text back then, not blue text, right? I had an Android, and it was just like all that stuff, I remember we got paid every Friday, I'd hopefully make a couple $1,000, but starting from the very, very bottom, where you're on your own paying for everything. It's like, I remember a lot of times Thursday would hit and I didn't have any money, you know what I mean? Wow. And, so I'd eat the top ramen in the back of my car, or I wouldn't eat, or whatever. And I was always, in a really good way, I was so, prideful towards the fact that I didn't want to cop out, right? I didn't want to ask my friends. I didn't want to ask anyone, because at the end of the day, it was just, they didn't have money either. You know what I mean? And so I understood that. And I really just wanted to, be able to change my family's life, inspire my family, whatever. And it was once I saw what was possible, like I said, like this dude, man, he'd make a couple $1,000 a day. And to me at the time, that was just mind blowing. I just couldn't believe it, so seeing him every single day, it didn't matter how tough the day was, how difficult the day was. It was like, if this dude's doing it and he's technically my manager, and he's, technically paid by my efforts as well, and wants to see me win, there's no reason that I shouldn't be, dominating too. So, I would say that, and then just the competitiveness, right? So once I started dominating, I started doing well, I would compete, against myself. And then after competing against myself, I'd compete against, the rookie class, the vet class, other managers, other people in the company. And before I knew it, fast forward 365 days, I was basically the best rep in the company. Yeah.
I would say, I'm pretty sure it was by your second or third year, I think it was your third year, you were making 6-figure checks.
I was real good by my 6-figure back end check. Alarms was different, but by my second or third year, I was, pretty much one of the best in the industry, for sure.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So over the years, you've talked a lot about having a dog mentality. You've trained on how to be a dog. You've turned people from kind of just soft, people that don't have the best mindset, don't have the best work ethic, and you've literally turned them into, what you refer to as a junkyard dog. Can you elaborate on that a little bit and just kind of explain what that is and how people
I think that's a great question, because it's the whole thing, right? So for obviously the viewers that don't know, door to door is a very brutal industry, right? Yeah. It's like the absolute best guys in door to door now with solar make multiple 7 figures, and the worst guys make 0, right? And that's all it is. There's no hourly, there's no salary, no one cops you out, no one saves you. And so it's really you versus you. Right. And the reason that I touch so much on being a dog, going all out, rain, snow, or sunny, right? One of my favorite things, within the company.
And it seems like everyone you've ever trained adapts that as a life motto. Rain, snow, or sunny.
And I think the reason is it's kind of just some David Goggins principles, you know what I mean? Of just going through the hard, sticking through the hard, embracing the suck. And that's what's going to give you, life satisfaction. But more than anything, I think, logically, the way I explain it logically to people is if you knock 100 doors a day, it doesn't matter how bad you suck. If you get 1% of those doors, you get one. Do you see what I'm saying? And if you don't knock 100 doors, well, then you could technically get zero, right? And so obviously you have your skill set in door to door and in life, and you have your work ethic in life. Your skill set can sometimes be innate, right? There can be some born things and obviously some taught and learned things over time, but that multiplier on that skill set is your work ethic, right? You see it with athletes all the time, right? Everyone remembers the athlete. I had some growing up. I don't want to embarrass them on this, but I remember I knew a couple buddies, man. They were amazing athletes growing up. They smashed everyone, dude. And as time went on, they, petered out, while the underdog was the guy who ended up, making it, to the big leagues or as close to it as possible. Right. And it's because of that dog mentality. It's when people rely on their skill sets to make them money, I think you're almost guaranteed to lose, because again, you don't have the driving force and the driving factor that will get you to that next level, which is the idea, right, of going all out, rain, snow, or sunny, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 hours a day. I remember when I worked at Vivint for 4.5 years, I mean, dude, I'd knock doors personally from 10 a.m. till almost midnight every single night, 6 days a week for 4 years. Right. And that is what, build your character, build your skill set, kind of builds everything. And I think the rejection in door to door too that, people go through is something that just toughens your mind so much to where it calluses your mind to where you can't really be stopped by anything else. Right. So I'm super, super passionate about the door to door industry in general, of getting young kids involved. My little brother's, going out this summer. Yep. He's been out for a couple. He started at 16 years old, right? He didn't really have a choice, because I knew that going out there and just failing forward and going through the hurt, the struggle, the pain, and then eventually getting that yes, getting someone to do it, making your first couple $100 and making, dude, even in alarms, when you're making $500 a sale, that's more than some people still make a week. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's one sucks, right? So just embracing that and getting good at it and just grinding through the suck, you eventually increase your skill set massively. Now you have your work ethic and your skill set at an all-time high. Well, you can be financially set up for the rest of your life by the age of 25.
You're unstoppable at that point, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So can you elaborate a little bit further on your why and also why having a why is important?
It's a great question. I'll start with, why having a why is so important is because that is what's going to get you through the suck, right? I remember in door to door, man, when I first started, it was ridiculous, dude. I think there's something I teach on a lot in door to door, and it's basically the concept and the principle that the longer you stay in door to door, the probability that you're going to quit or give up or dwindle out, increase it or decreases massively, right? It's not going to happen. Right. And the reason why is because in the beginning, your skill set is at an all-time low, right? And really your habits and your work ethic and your discipline are usually at an all-time low as well. Right. And so having that why, having a reason, in the back of your head, because dude, I remember in door to door, I mean, I was in Washington, DC for 3 summers or 3 or 4 summers. And it would rain every single day, right? Really? There were times, I remember there were times it would go a month straight where it was just a downpour every single day.
How was that knocking in the rain every single day?
Horrible. I mean, you're wet, you're drenched. I mean, within, if your skill set's not super high or you don't have a car or whatever.
You're not getting in homes hardly ever.
Exactly. Within an hour, you're drenched. You know what I mean? And then you're almost going with, the whole pitch of, I'm wet, let me in. Like, you know what I mean? Can I dry off my shoes and, can I throw my socks in your dryer type thing? Wow. But having the why is so important, because again, at the very beginning, your skill set is zero, right? And door to door, and this applies to business, right? It just like anything else, it applies to sports, it applies to everything, right? You see kids in sports, for example, too. My little brother is a good football player, track star, whatever. And he started out massive. He's my half brother and he's 8 inches taller than me and probably 60 pounds heavier. Yeah. And so when he started, right, when I remember watching him play football when he was 8 years old, and he just smashed everyone because he was twice the size, right? And he loved it. Why? Because he was good at it. Do you see what I'm saying? I think he just placed in nationals for his track thing for throwing a shot put ball further than any kid ever type. You know what I mean? Like the crazy stuff. And he likes it because he's good at it, and he's good at it because he likes it. Right. Yep. So go back to door though. When you suck at it, everyone sucks when you first start. Everyone sucks at business. When you suck at it and your work ethic also sucks, there's a very high percentage chance that you're going to fail and you're never going to hit that level. All the entrepreneurs always say, and I can say this firsthand, that making your first million is the hardest. After you make your first million, dude, I'll be completely honest. I think me making 8 figures this year is way easier than it was for me making 7 figures. And that was easier than me making my first 6 figures. Do you see what I'm saying? And so that's why I think having the why is so powerful, because you will quit in the beginning if you don't have, whether it be, and your why can be anything, man. I mean, it can be your family. It can be an incarcerated uncle. It can be a little brother you want to inspire. It can be you were picked on your whole freaking life and you want to, be something. It could be literally anything. So, I think that's the biggest reason that the why is important. And for me, my why was honestly my mom. So kind of had a relatively troubled childhood where, again, single mom, 3 kids, whatever. My mom, got into bad stuff. Unfortunately, started with alcohol, got worse. And, I ended up knowing that I needed to save her, right, from the illness of essentially addiction, right? So when she was going through all of that, I knew in the back of my mind that eventually 100% you can die of alcoholism, right? It happens 24/7, right? And as that tolerance builds up, right, you drink more and more and more and whatever. She went through an abusive relationship and it started and it just got worse. And I knew my why, right, was that if I don't make this money, if I don't give her the best rehab that money can provide, she may not make it. And, fast forward 5, 6, 7 years, she's now been completely sober for 2 years. Wow. And 100% she was on the brink of death, 2, 3 years ago. Yeah. She's now completely sober and becoming a counselor herself. Right. So, wow. It's really cool.
Yeah. That's incredible, man.
Yeah.
So that was your why originally. And having a why is extremely important when you're first starting, because the beginning is the hardest. Starting your journey towards financial freedom, developing high paying skill sets is definitely the hardest part. What has your why shifted to now? Now that you've kind of right. Yeah. So thinking about it over the past couple of years, it started with my mom, right? It was basically saving my mom's life from addiction. I did that. I successfully accomplished that. After that, it was inspiring my little brother, right? To be something kind of like me. And I kind of did that. And then after that, it was inspiring my friends and family members, or just anyone really, friends, family members, anyone I cared about to be able to do the same thing and then help their parents, right? And help their families, accomplish that. We've obviously got, a lot of dudes making 7 figures now. So that's crazy. They're able to help their parents out. You've definitely got a lot of dudes making a lot of money that are retiring their parents currently. So
yeah, it's crazy. It's mind blowing to me still, even sometimes. But I think after that, now my why is it's really this, right? I mean, you and I are, as close of friends as they come, and we've talked multiple times. I'm like, dude, I've made millions of dollars now at this point. I can invest it very easily and kind of, coast and, chill, retire, whatever that is, right? If I wanted to, and I want to do the exact opposite, man. I'm stoked to freaking obviously start this podcast, start this show, and really, impact the masses, because again, I mean, do we have, however many people we have making 7 figures now? We got a couple hundred dudes making 6 figures, I would assume, at least, right? Companies getting revenue, a couple $100 million this year. I'm personally planning on paying out $100 million plus in commissions this year. It's ridiculous and it's crazy, but the why, to answer your question specifically, is to keep just growing that at ridiculous, alarming rates, and just showing other people, really making this the #1 podcast in the world, and just showing as many people as we possibly can that, look, you can come from absolutely nothing too. You can quite literally save your mother's life. You can retire your entire family. You can give your mom a job, your dad a job, your sister a job, your brother a job, have all your buddies make 7 figures, help them do it, help them retire their parents, and do that whole journey that I've done, and obviously helped you be a part of as well. And there's no, the sky's the limit. There's no cap. There's no ceiling. It's just whether or not people want to do it. They're down to go out, grind, hustle, learn from the right people, work smart and work hard, and get it the hell done. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. So over the years, you've built quite like quite a following. Yeah. Obviously, there's been a lot of people that have watched your journey, seen what you've accomplished, and now you've got hundreds of people that work for you, that are super loyal to you, that will work with you probably for a really, really long time. Yeah. Obviously, you've changed a lot of people's lives. What has helped you kind of build the following that you have, and just build everything that you have?
Kind of funny. I can answer that question. First thing you said, work for, which I guess is technically maybe kind of true, but work with, right? That's what I always like to say. I think one of the biggest reasons that I've been able to build the following I have, and we've been able to build the following that we have, as a company as a whole, is it's always we, not I, right? It's what can we do together, because it's true, right? It's at the end of the day, before obviously I started the install company and, other things going on as well, take it back to a basic, sales organization. Without your people, you're nothing. And without you, they're nothing. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's all about, coming together to essentially help each other and to level up and to grow together. So I think the biggest reason that we've been able to build such a crazy following and just get to where we're even at now is, one big thing too is my why and my impact, of wanting to help other people do the same thing, because I know for me too, there is nothing bigger than quite literally saving your mother's life, right? To quite literally getting your dad out of his, physical labor job that hurts his back and bad respiratory problems and stuff like that from that, putting my sister in a good position, my brother, like there's no greater feeling in the world than doing that. So by really people knowing that that was my why, that's why I did it. And I'm down to help you do the same, help you, help me, we help each other, that whole thing. It's created this crazy, crazy compound effect. And then we're all basically best friends too. So that obviously helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of talk about what's your opinion on like the importance of money?
That's a good question. Importance of money. So at this point, obviously been all over the world, had, so much fun, done so many crazy things, and that's been fun, right? Of course it's been fun. But again, the biggest thing was, it's funny. I talk to my buddy Ian about this all the time, that I remember my first 6-figure check depositing to my bank account was in my first supercar, right? Getting the Lambo was cooler than the 7-figure bank account or the $5 million. You know what I mean? That was the coolest thing. And the reason why is because that's what got me security, right? It's like you can have 1 Lambo or 2 Lambos or 20 Lambos. Either way, you can only drive one at a time. A Lambo's a Lambo. You can only be in one. You know what I mean? So that's not that important. It's fun. Don't get me wrong. But what's more important is not struggling, right? Is being able to pay your phone bill, is having a place to live. Then after that, having a decent place to live, right? And then after that, having a nice place to live, having a super, super nice place to live. Eventually it gets out of hand and it gets unnecessary, but providing that security, right? That security, that stability. You can read stats, man, about credit card debt in the United States or student loan debts, and it's ridiculous, right? And I don't care what anyone says. That's stressful, man. I lived it, right? Like 100%. Having Wednesday or Thursday hit and you don't have any money in your bank account actually, and all your credit cards are maxed. You have $0 or $12 or whatever. And you're not getting paid till Friday. That's stress. And at the end of the day, stress kills you, man. Your quality of life is 100% lower. So to answer your question directly, the importance of money is stability. It's security. And there's some study, I can't remember however many years ago, they were saying something along the lines of anything less than $70,000 a year, you will be happier incrementally at each level you go up, right? Think about it. If you make $0, you're technically homeless, right? Make $10,000 and cool. You might have be able to share apartment with 7 other people. So cool. You have a place to live. That provides happiness, sleeping on a pillow, not a rock. You know what I mean? And then $20,000, cool. You can actually buy more than enough food for yourself and you're not eating top ramen and a bunch of bullshit that makes you feel horrible, right? And then you have $30,000. Now you can get a car. And then you have $40,000. Now you're not maybe stressed about the car payment. Now you have $50,000. You can, kick some of your roommates out. Now you have $60,000. It's just like, dude, just think about that concept. I definitely don't think it's $70,000. I will say that. $70,000 is, I think, nothing in today's society. But once you get to 150 or 200, you can actually get to a point where I can think. I can think, I can chill, I can breathe, I can, pursue my passions. I can do what I want. I can actually kind of live and enjoy my life a little bit. But until then, money's extremely important because without it, you're stressed. The quality of your life is lower, 100%.
Yeah. We talk all the time about how sometimes we just can't believe the average person it's
ridiculous.
Survives.
I feel bad.
And lives a life on very small amounts of money. What do you have to say to the thought or the idea that when people say like money doesn't buy happiness? What is your opinion and thoughts on that?
Like I said, it's not true, right? I think money, Tony Robbins talks about this all the time, right? That money just magnifies who you are. And I think that's 1,000% true. Again, can I buy yachts and helicopters and jets and whatever with money, of course, but even rich people talk about this as well, that after a net worth of 25 million, you can get every single thing you want, right? You can, with a $25 million net worth, say it's invested at 10% a year, that's $2.5 million a year. You're getting free money, right? Yeah. 200 grand a month, that you're getting just cash free money. That's the interest on your money. Yep. You can buy whatever the hell you want with 50 grand a week. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But after that point, I don't think it buys any more happiness, but until then, of course it buys happiness, dude. I remember buying my mom a car, for the first time, cash, bought her a Prius. That's what she wanted. And of course she cried, man. Like, of course she cried. Of course she was grateful. And it was awesome for me, man. And I literally saved a person's life with money. Yeah. I've saved, technically, right? Indirectly, hundreds of lives to this point by them making more money and then being able to do the same thing, for their family. I remember, two of my good friends, Vic and Will Silva, they gave their parents, I think it was $20,000 for Christmas. They gave them a teddy bear and said, open it up or whatever. Mm-hmm. And there's obviously the fluff in there and then a bunch of money too. Yeah. And, I don't even think they know this. I don't think I've told them, but dude, I got emotional watching that video, right? Because I know how much it means to their parents, which I know how much it means to them. And by default, it's like, dude, when I met these kids, they were making 150 grand and now they're going to both make $3 million this year. Like that's what it provides. So yeah, of course it buys fucking happiness. Like that's bottom line.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, 100%. I do think that people have to learn how to, make smart decisions with their life. And like you said, it amplifies who you are. Uh-huh. But yeah, money's definitely changed a lot of people's lives. Just people that and that I know in a very positive way. Yep. What do you think about people with ambition and people that have the ability to be go-getters and make a lot of money? Is that something that they're born with, or is that something that can be learned?
That's a good question as well. I think a lot of life is obviously, innate and genetic, but not nearly as much as it is your environment, your surroundings, what happens to you and how you react to it. So I can tell you this, obviously firsthand, like I said, I didn't grow up in, a perfect environment. Physically abusive stepdad, hurt my mom, damaged my mom, had to, help her out, whatever. Going through all of that made me who I am. Do you see what I'm saying? And if I'm being completely honest, there's no way, right? I don't think if I went through that struggle, I would have had such the fiery passion, the why, everything to get kind of where I'm at now and to now help other people do that. So my ambition at this point, like I obviously has talked about, is really, I want to help everyone, man. I really do. Any person that wants help, I want to help. But more than anything, I can relate to that kid that's struggling, that, is having, messed up shit happen at home or whatever, and use that energy and channel that, bad negative things happening to, him or her, in their lives and turn that into greatness. So I really think ambition, whether it's nurture or nature, it was definitely obviously both, but I think more than anything, it is 100% how you react to your environment. Mm-hmm. It's what happens to you and how you react. Yeah. I've obviously met a lot of people that have had, messed up shit happen to them in their past, and it ended their life. You know what I'm saying? They didn't even graduate high school and don't have a job, and they smoke weed and they play video games and they're in their mid-20s. Right. Obviously you and I are, kind of doing the exact opposite. So, it's definitely an interesting topic for sure. But again, I think it's all on how you react. And again, like I was talking about in, 20 minutes ago, whether or not you can make it through that first initial hump, right? Of that skill set in door to door, or that skill set in business, or just the skill set of believing in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, when's it hardest to believe in yourself? In the very beginning, when you have nothing. Do you see what I'm saying?
And that's also the time that no one else really believes in you.
And that when 100%, no one believes in you, you don't believe in you. And it's like, dude, you're just looking yourself in the mirror. You're like, I'm broke, busted, and disgusted, man. My car's shit. My life's shit. My girlfriend hates me. My family hates me. and I don't like anyone. No one likes me. It's like, what the hell's happening? It's really hard to get out of that. But I think there's this crazy part of life, that this compound effect, this 1% better every day, effect, that when you capitalize on that and you start winning at a small level, and you take those wins and multiply those wins, dude, it eventually gets to the point where it's like, you and I both know this, bro. Like any game I play, I just feel like I'm going to win. You know what I mean? I'm just used to winning. Right. So, that's my answer to that question.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you still, you're 25, you've made a lot of money, you've had a lot of accomplishments, but you you still work a lot. You still work a ton.
A lot. Yeah.
Do you enjoy your life? Like, I mean, and have you figured out a good way to like balance? Like, I know that people like say work-life balance.
Yeah.
How do you enjoy your life?
So Tony Robbins actually has, something good on that as well. There is no such thing as work-life balance. It's work-life integration. Mm-hmm. And I agree with that fully. I do work a ton, man. I work a shit ton. I have fun. So I do balance it, right? I've been to 41 countries. I love going to the UFC fights, the Super Bowl, all that crazy shit. I'm always there, but I work constantly, man. I on average, I would say I probably work, I don't know, 70, 80 hours a week. Not 100, not ridiculous, but 70, 80 hours a week for sure. And I love it. And the reason I do is because I can say a couple of years ago, this is what's interesting too, is I felt the door-to-door industry. I felt that business. I felt that money. I felt all these things were a means to an end, right? Mm-hmm. Meaning, right? Which is the point of the Done by 25 podcast. Meaning once I got to this point, once I made X dollars, once I made 7 figures in a year, multiple 7 figures, or had a 7-figure net worth, or, this much crypto or stocks or investments or whatever. Once I finally got to this point, I would be happy, right? And I could chill and I would be good. And I've come to find out, kind of accomplishing that goal right before I, started obviously the install company. I realized that that's not full happiness, right? You can't really just go to a beach and have someone throw grapes in your mouth and massage your feet for anything more than a couple of days before your belly hurts from the grapes and your feet are getting massaged too much. They're sore too. You know what I mean? So I definitely work. I work a lot. I enjoy my work. And I think the biggest thing I can say and advice I would give to someone who's, made it to the level now where they're making, 7 figures, multiple 7 figures, and they're serious business people. I would definitely say that impacting people is where you're going to get all of your self-satisfaction. That's where you're going to get the most internal happiness. And as long as you can work and continue to work, I tell this to my dad all the time, as long as I can continue to work in a non-stressful way, right? As long as I can keep doing what I'm doing and not have it age me massively and get unhealthy and freaking go bald and what I mean? As long as I cannot go down that path, I'm stoked, man. And I'll continue to work hard, and I want to work hard, till the day I die.
Right. And it's not even, I feel like for you, it's not even just working hard. I feel like you have an extremely impressive skill to always believe in yourself and take gambles on yourself and risks. Mm-hmm. And you put yourself under a lot of pressure, and mm-hmm. you find the peace in the pressure. Yep. Would you say that's true?
100%. Again, and maybe it comes from, my surroundings or my background, but 20 years ago, growing up as a kid, we didn't really have stability. We didn't have security. So looking back at it, I think maybe a part of it's that. But then the other part of it is, when you're constantly reinvesting everything. I remember starting the install company, man. I put, obviously millions into starting it, and that was a lot. That was the whole thing. I didn't get a business loan. None of that. I just put straight cash, and it definitely put my back against the wall. But that is where I personally thrive. I think that's where, dude, you can look at even just athletes, right? You can look at Kobe Bryant, the Mamba mentality, right? Or really any one of these guys. It's when that their back's against the wall the most that that's where they strive. That's where they live. And I've definitely experienced that throughout my life for sure. I'll always put my back against the wall. Never bad, never, putting generational wealth on the line type thing. But, oh yeah, man, I love going all out, rain, snow or sun. Yeah. It's where I thrive, and it's what I like to do.
Yeah. You've talked a lot over the years in trainings and just mentorship, about an upward spiral versus a downward spiral. Mm-hmm. Can you kind of explain just a little bit in depth on that?
It's huge, man. If any of our reps are, watching this, or when they listen to this, they'll have heard me talk about this 100 times, because I do talk about it 24/7. The upward spiral and the downward spiral is the basic concept of, let's take it right here, right? We're filming this podcast right now. This podcast is going to do well. I know it's going to do well. And once it goes well and we have a lot of views, we have a lot of likes, we have a lot of comments, we have a lot of people, saying we should do more of it. What are we going to do? We're going to do more of it. And then we're going to do more, and we're going to do more. And then it's going to yield, impact, results, money, profit, everything, right? And it's gonna go up. And the more something goes well, the more you want to do it. And then the opposite happens the other way, right? So what's a downward spiral? A downward spiral is a podcast fails, a podcast doesn't go good. and everyone hates on you or whatever the hell, right? And it destroys your confidence. It destroys your confidence. It destroys your desire to want to go out and accomplish things that other people haven't accomplished before. So before you know it, your podcast fails. Now you don't even want to you want to delete your social media. You want to hide under a rock, and you hide under a rock, and then you get, you eat hella, and then you're 300 pounds. And now you're really bad. And then you want to go out in public. And before you know it, you can't even freaking talk to a girl. You know what I mean? You can't even talk to a chick. So I think that, right? And then I just wanted to say that specific example because we're sitting here right now, but take that anywhere, man. I mean, take that on the doors, right? So let's go back to the doors. Taking on the doors, that's the whole thing. That's the difference, right? That's the difference when 5 years ago, my manager would sell more every single day than I could ever even do in a week. And it was that upward spiral, right? He would get a deal and then he was so confident in himself. He just got one. He's like, cool, I'm going to get another one. And then, cool, I'm going to get another one. Cool, I'm going to get another one. Cool, I'm going to get another one. And that happened to me right towards the end, right? It was like a year later after I kind of figured that upward spiral stuff out. It was like, dude, before I knew it, I was like, bro, my goal's the best rep in the company. My goal's the best rep in the industry. I don't think a soul on this planet can beat me. It got so upward spiral, like changed my name to the door-to-door king on Instagram. You know what I mean? Because that upward spiral occurred. What's the opposite? The opposite is what we see 24/7, man. It's so sad to see is when someone comes out to door-to-door, for example, and their skill set is at their lowest. Maybe it rained that day to make it even worse. And, 3 hours, they just get shit on the whole day. Then they get rained on, and then they get wet, and then their phone dies, and now your phone's dead. Now you can't knock. Now you sit under a tree. Now you get bit by mosquitoes, and now you're itchy, and now you don't have your car ride, and now it just slowly goes down. Now you're depressed. Now you sleep, and just in a horrible mental state, and that just keeps going over and over. And before you know it, man, I think that's why capitalism really exists, is because these crazy wealthy people and these crazy successful entrepreneurs, they're just constantly on this high and this upward spiral of life to where I just told you straight up, man, I love my life. I love business. As long as I can never get stressed out, dude, I want to continue to inspire and impact as many people as possible. And I think starting now, it's like, dude, by the time I'm 65, like Grant Cardone, like we're going to impact 10,000 million bajillion more lives than he did. You know what I mean? Because that upward spiral, downward spiral is the exact opposite, man. And you just see the majority of America, dude. I would say my guess is 95% of people are unhappy with their lives. 95% of people have credit card debt. 95% of people don't have the car they want. They don't have the life they want. They don't like their job. And it's just this constant get beat up. And then when you get beat up, it makes it worse. You get a flat tire. You don't have the money to tow your car. Now you have to walk, and now you're late to work, and then you get fired. Now you really don't have money. It's just, it's a messed up cycle for sure.
How do you recommend someone identifying if they're on a downward or upward spiral, and if they're going on a downward spiral, how would you recommend fixing that as fast as possible?
People talk, entrepreneurs and, super successful business dudes talk about it a lot. They talk about your circle and how impactful, your circle is on your life. And I think that's the biggest thing, man. I remember 14 years old, I'm smoking weed, being an idiot because I'm surrounded by other 14-year-old idiots smoking weed, and when you're too young and dumb to realize that your friends, because your friends like to smoke weed and you like to smoke weed, right? You're too dumb and young to realize that. And then it eventually get to the point on the upward spiral where it's like, oh dude, now just being honest, dude, if someone isn't an optimistic person, I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to surround myself with them. I don't want the energy. I don't want anything, because I'm on a mission, man. I really am. And it's to impact as many lives as possible. And so any negative person, I can't even deal with. So recognizing it, I think very first is you recognize your surroundings. Like who are your roommates? If you have roommates, who are your best friends? You are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with most, right? People say that one all the time too. And it's because it's true. So I think at the end of the day, you need to level up your circle to level up your life. And once you start leveling up your circle, now, I mean, dude, I'm 25 years old talking to dudes worth freaking 9 figures. It's like mind blowing. It's like, wow, I'm poor. You know what I mean? So I definitely think the easiest way to keep leveling up is to keep surrounding yourself with, more and more positive, optimistic, life dominating, fun, energetic people. Yeah.
Yeah. I would agree, man. Your environment is your destiny.
Yeah.
What were some of your most favorite parts of your journey up to this point?
That's a a good question as well. And I know the answer exactly. It's what I call the dog years, right? I actually kind of feel I'm retired from the dog years a little bit. And what I mean by the dog years is back when I was broke, right? Back when I was broke, back when I had, dents on all four corners of my Jeep. I had roll up windows because I couldn't afford the electric ones. I had top ramen in the back of my car in case I ever had to eat it because I didn't have.
Didn't you say you even had to sleep in your car on occasion?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. We were doing the network marketing stuff before door to door, 100%. Yeah. Wow. I 100% slept in my car. 1,000%. And looking back at it, it's so funny, man, because now it was that, not that I loved the struggle that much. I did, don't get me wrong, but it was the struggle to not to struggle. Do you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It was the Patriot to the Jeep Patriot to eventually a Lambo, right?
Right.
Once you have a Lambo though, it's like I said, what do you want, a fucking Bugatti? Like it doesn't, it doesn't do anything, right? They both go really fast. You only drive one and they're both dangerous and highly illegal to drive that fast anyway. You know what I'm saying? So my favorite part about my journey, man, was just in the beginning, just getting to a point now to where the money does compound itself, and just that struggle, that sacrifice, that work, because you've never experienced, what money can do. You've never experienced changing your family's life yet. You've never experienced not having that stress. I live with stress every day. You know what I mean? And everyone does. And that's what's crazy is I just think so many Americans get used to this stress. I can't even believe it that they just get used to having $100,000 in credit card debt and $12 in their bank account and just like living that. It's just horrible. You know what I mean? So for me, my favorite part was getting out of that. And then once I got out of that, my second favorite part was showing other people how to do that. And then my third favorite part is really trying to show people how to really do it at a mass scale, where obviously we're now sitting here filming this.
Right. That's awesome, man. So last question, and then we'll kind of wrap up here, but can you explain to the audience real quick, we've already kind of talked about it, but just explain more in depth on the purpose of this podcast, what the goal for this podcast is going to be, and just kind of the long-term play on what we want to help people with by doing this podcast.
I think the goal of the podcast is starting with the title of the podcast, Done by 25. We called it that podcast because, again, obviously living proof that you can literally go from $0 at 18 years old to having basically generational wealth by the age of 25. So the point of it is showing people that it's possible, showing people that they can do it, showing people that there is a better way than college and 9 to 5, whatever. And the crazy part about it is what I like about this podcast is, dude, if you want to do that, do that. You know what I mean? If you want to make $60,000 a year, make $60,000 a year. You want to freaking get a degree and make a salary and whatever, like, cool, that's fine. But I will tell you that making money at ridiculous scale and impacting lives and having, getting your best friends to 7 figures is one. Getting your best friends to 7 figures is way cooler than getting yourself to 7 figures. And the whole point of the podcast is showing, our audience and every person listening to this, how they actually can, believe it or not, do it themselves, just like I did, just like you're on your way to. And just really that, retiring your family and living an amazing life.
Yes, sir. So I appreciate you taking the time. Obviously, it's been kind of hard to get you to sit down and do this podcast with me.
It really has, yeah.
But I'm glad that we're finally doing it. I know a lot of people are going to be very excited to listen to this.
Yep.
For those of you guys watching this or listening to this on whatever platform that you're listening to it on, like, subscribe, comment, etc. Make sure to follow us on Instagram. Follow Nolan at the door-to-door.king, and myself, Taylor K. And we're going to be dropping a lot of information, over the next foreseeable future, right? We talked about Grant Cardone. He didn't start, though, till he was in his 40s or something.
Yeah, that is the final thing I will say is for all the viewers and everyone listening as well. Dude, you can start it. You can start at 30. You can start at 35, 45, 55. It doesn't matter, man. I got lucky because I started young, but it took 7 years. And I think any person, any age, you look at all these success stories, man. The KFC guy, there's a ton of people. Grant Cardone, Gary V. Gary V talks about that all the time, that he's, in his 50s now or whatever he is, and that he's still young. He still has, the second half of his life. So, being done by 25, metaphorically is pretty cool. Figuratively is pretty cool. But regardless, I think we just want to teach people, as many people as we can, that a 7-year sacrifice, going all out, rain, snow, or sunny, in the right environment, the right system, the right people, regardless of the field. You become the top of your field where you don't work for someone else and you work for yourself and run your own ship and run your own crew, and dominate. yeah, you can make millions of dollars and set yourself up generationally forever and live an amazing life and impact a lot of lives.
Yep. So again, I mean, we're going to be doing a lot of things to provide mentorship and to provide opportunities. If you're watching this and you're wondering how you can get involved in door to door or potentially get into business with Nolan and myself, reach out, right? Send us a DM. Yep. Look out for whatever information we send out for job opportunities, for career opportunities, for business opportunities. And for the foreseeable future, we're going to be doing a lot to create opportunities for the masses. So thanks for tuning in, and stay tuned for the next episode.
We're not selling anything. We're just helping a lot of people. Let's get it.